Have you been thinking about moving to Charleston, South Carolina and the surrounding suburbs? But you need to understand the pros and cons of what it is to live here? Well, you have come to the right place because we're going to be talking about the top 5 pros and cons of living in Charleston, also called the Lowcountry. So stick around. Thank you so much for joining us here with the Charleston For Real team. We love to help you become our neighbors and our friends. We're going to get right to it with the cons of living in Charleston. And then we'll get to the pros right after that. Number 1 con, you're looking at it. It's called hurricane season. Yes, it is a season. It's so funny. I met my wife in California working in film and TV. We met on the Paramount lot in the May West building. Started dating, never looked back. We moved back here in 2005. There was a discussion about hurricane season. And she goes, whoa, what do you mean hurricane season? You know, from June to November, tropical storms will form out in the Atlantic, and then they'll start heading towards the Caribbean or the U.S., and you just got to be prepared for it to turn into a hurricane that could hit. She goes, there's a whole season? We're like, yeah, there's a whole season. So she did not know that. You may not know that, but now you do. So from June to November, you've got to be prepared. This is Ian behind me. It's a Category 1, which really the last hurricane that we had hit was a Category 1. It was Matthew in 2016. Very similar to this, a lot of rain, a lot of wind. There should be some gusts that show up while we're filming here. And so far, this has been even less difficult than Matthew was. We lost a few trees in Matthew. In fact, that tree right there, the top of it broke off, fell this way and knocked one of these trees down. Had another tree right over that way that twisted and fell down. I might even have footage of that. So far, Ian's been pretty mild here. I know it's been very bad for Florida. In the history of the state of South Carolina, only 4 storms Category 3 and higher have direct hit South Carolina. Hugo in 1989 was one of the worst. I was 11 years old, and it was rough. It was a scary night. I could hear the pine trees twisting and falling all night long. It sounded like a freight train going through the attic multiple times. It was a rough night, a very rough recovery for the entire area, but there's been nothing like that since 1989. And the likelihood is still very low that you'll get hit by a major hurricane. So please do not let that keep you from moving to the area, but you do need to be aware. You do need to be prepared. I've got a generator right there ready to go in case we need it. You get your batteries out, you get your flashlights charged up, get your candles and your lighters. There's one of those gusts. So you just get ready and you can deal with it, but it's not as bad as you might think. All right, enough about hurricane season. Con number 2 is very related to hurricane season, and it's the flooding. Flooding is not tied strictly to hurricanes. It just is amplified during a hurricane. You get the storm surge plus a high tide, and it can be very bad, especially in downtown in the peninsula. But this also relates to when we just have heavy rains. The closer you are to the coast, the bigger of an issue it's going to be. But we have flooding all throughout the Lowcountry. You've got multiple rivers that can overflow. And so you need to be very aware of your home's history. You need to look at the property disclosure before you purchase one, and have a realtor that knows the area and knows the neighborhoods that can deal with floodings. And it's not always just the whole neighborhood. It can be a section of a neighborhood that has problems. Flood insurance will cost you anywhere from a few $100s a year to thousands of dollars if you're in a flood zone. A lot of property around here is minimal flood zone, and the lender will not require flood insurance. You might still want to carry it until you really see how your property handles heavy rains. All things you need to be aware of in con number 2. Oh, hello, it is Future Jim coming to you from after the hurricane, and it's absolutely beautiful out here. If you are moving to Charleston, you're gonna love it. If you're moving here, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can be the first to get our new videos about the area and the homes and the neighborhoods and everything else there is about Charleston and the surrounding suburbs. And also, I want to say, be sure you stay tuned to the very end of this video, because there is a bonus pro/con that cannot be defined by me. You're going to have to decide if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I would love for you to tell me below in the comments if this is a pro for you or a con. And so let's get back to the cons and see you at the very end. Con number 3, we're going to keep it weather related, and we're going to shift from the rain to the heat and the humidity, although the rain does contribute to the humidity as well. It absolutely gets hot in the summertime. I grew up here. I played football in it. I look back and think, how in the world did I survive just the humidity, let alone the football? It gets pretty nasty. For quite a few months right in the middle of the summer, the heat index will get upwards of 110. Now, that's not going to be your temperature on the thermometer, but when you include the impact of the humidity, it can really push it, and it makes it very difficult. If you're an athlete, when you run in the morning, it can be 5 in the morning, dark, and you are sweating within a quarter mile of running, if not sooner, just because it is so oppressive at times. It's not enough to keep me from living here. My favorite time is the spring. Once the pollen has been washed away, spring is the absolute best. The flowers are popping. All of these are azaleas. This whole row are azaleas, and they are absolutely gorgeous. We've got dogwoods, magnolias, azaleas. It'd be a great time to go to Middleton Place. First landscape gardens in the country. We're right at Middleton Place, and they are amazing. Of course, the heat is excellent for the beach. I turned that con into a pro. Con number 4 is going to be the bugs. My wife, this has to be on her list. I'm going to get her out here in just a little bit, and we're going to compare my list to hers. My list I compiled by surveying a lot of my past clients, as well as some realtors that I know that have moved to Charleston from outside of the area. I'm born and raised here, other than the time I spent in LA, and moved back. So I've got a good perspective for you as a native as well as a transplant. Bugs, they can be bad, and they're pretty much year-round that you have to deal with them. Now, the worst of it, I would say, would be the mosquitoes in the summertime. They can be very, very obnoxious, and so you need to be prepared with bug spray. A cool thing that you can do at your house, a lot of the pest control companies will spray your yard to repel the mosquitoes, and it does a pretty good job. They'll come out about once a month to do that, and it can keep you not free from mosquitoes, but a lot less bothered than you would be otherwise. Other bugs you got to know about, if you haven't heard the term yet, palmetto bugs. They're basically cockroaches that can fly in short distances. They're big, they're ugly, they're nasty, they're kind of scary. Interestingly enough, they're primarily an outdoor bug. These are not the German cockroaches, and the palmetto bugs are not considered to be as dirty as the German cockroaches. They'll get driven inside a lot of times by weather like this. When it gets super wet outside, they'll find their way inside. They're a little frightening when you're not used to them. Of course, you've got gnats the closer you get to the water. You got love bugs. The coolest bugs of all, though, have got to be the fireflies. I love these bugs. They don't bother you, and they pretty much hover in the trees, and they are so cool to see in the summertime lighting up. I love fireflies, so there's one of the pros to the bugs. The 5th and final con, this got mentioned by pretty much everybody. There might have been one person that did not bring this up, but it's the traffic. We're not a huge city in terms of population, but we are such a popular place for people to move that we've really outstripped the resources, and the infrastructure is trying to catch up. We're trying to get it caught up, and it's just not there. So the traffic can be very, very irritating, especially rush hour, getting to and from work. Pretty much just about anywhere you are in the Lowcountry. You can get a little bit further out into areas like Holly Hill and Ridgeville and avoid it, but it's something you've got to account for. If you can get into work ahead of rush hour, that might be the wise thing to do, because a 20 or 30 minute drive can turn into an hour to an hour and 20 minutes very quickly. It's something that is very frustrating for everyone here, but it's such a wonderful place to be. If you can learn to deal with it, to get around it, to avoid it, it's not so bad. And I lived in LA. It's still not LA traffic, but it's not great either. There's really only 2 major interstates. You got I-26 that goes all the way to downtown Charleston, and then you've got 526, which is kind of a half loop around the area. It goes from Mount Pleasant through North Charleston back down to West Ashley. They're the only real relief that we have, and they get really bad. So all the surface streets and the highways can get backed up. So those are our cons. Really, it's not that bad. I got a couple of dishonorable mention items that I found very interesting. I had a couple of people complain about the size of the Charleston International Airport. It's easy to get in and out of. They did a great remodel on it recently. However, there's not a lot of great direct flights. Most of the time, you're going to have to get a connecting flight, which can be a pain in the neck. Another one that was mentioned by just a few was the lack of pro sports, meaning top-level pro. There's no NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA. We do have a really nice minor league. In fact, I think we were just recently rated the top minor league city in the nation. We've got the Charleston Battery for soccer, the Charleston River Dogs for baseball. Absolutely wonderful stadiums for both of those. The South Carolina Stingrays in the Coliseum. And they're all great fun. And of course, here in the state of South Carolina, you better learn to like your college sports, specifically college football. If you don't know, when you get here, you will know it's just like any major rivalry. You got South Carolina Gamecocks and the Clemson Tigers, and it's a big deal. So those are the cons. Let's talk about the pros. Okay, before we get on to the good stuff, I need to take a moment to let you know that we are the Charleston For Real team. We love to help you become our neighbors and our friends. It's what we do. If you need help with your move, please do not hesitate to reach out. People call and text and email all the time. You should do it too. Information is down below. Reach out. We'd love to help you with your move. All right, back to it. Enough of the bad stuff. Let's talk about the good stuff. One of the things that people are so excited about is no snow. So the weather, which is funny being as it's also our top con, is weather related, but on the positive side, we have sun all year round, and it lets you get outside a lot of the time. And we can have a Christmas where it's 75 degrees. You rarely need to turn on your fireplace. Like I said, no shoveling snow, and it makes it very easy. It makes it very green. Where the end of September, everything is still green, even the grass. Great for gardening, great for outdoor activities. Speaking of which, pro number 2 would be the outdoor activities. And of course, pro number 1 with the nice weather is going to lend its hand to pro number 2. The top of that list has to be going to the beach. And there are multiple beaches to choose from. They all kind of have their own little personalities. I'll do a separate video on that sometime, telling you about the different ones from Isle of Palms all the way down to Edisto Beach. But the sand, the sun, the waves, the fun. You got surfing, you got kite boarding, a variety of things that you can do at the beach itself, which also, I would say, kind of blends into another activity category here in the Lowcountry, which is just getting on the water. There are rivers, there's beaches, there's lakes, there's so many things to do, from fishing to just boating to paddle boarding, kayaking, water skiing. It's such a wonderful community. There are so many boats around here. If you don't have one, I'm sure you'll make friends on someone who does, and you can get out on the water and enjoy that. Other things would be, we have great parks to enjoy, wonderful county parks, city parks. Also golfing. If you love to golf, this is a great place to be. There are so many courses. You can golf pretty much year round. You might have to wait a couple of weeks in the winter for it to warm up a little bit, but then you get right back to it. The sporting events, great for the high school events and the minor league events. Just get outside and have some fun. Pro number 3 is going to be the food. If you don't know about the restaurant scene in downtown Charleston, well, get ready to enjoy it, because there is such an amazing variety of high quality restaurants that you can enjoy down there. It's not limited to the peninsula of Charleston, but that's definitely the highest concentration. And then there's especially 2 categories that you can find good restaurants all throughout, which would be seafood, and that can be fried, steamed. That's going to include oysters, shrimp. Shrimp and grits is a big thing. My son loves to rate his favorite shrimp and grits from the different restaurants. You've got Lowcountry boils, fried flounder, fried catfish, all kinds of wonderful seafood that you can enjoy. The other category, I would say, would be barbecue. Now, when we talk about barbecue here, that's a type of food, that's not an activity. It's called a cookout when you're outside cooking food on the grill. And barbecue is, around here, most likely going to mean pulled pork. And of course there's ribs and barbecued chicken, and you can get your brisket here and there. But the main one is going to be the pulled pork, which I love. I like just a naked barbecue and choose the sauce later. Mustard's the best. Okay, fine, argue with me down in the comments. Tell me which one your favorite is down below. Food is just a wonderful way of life around here. Of course, some good Southern cuisine. And I go to Mom and Dad's house every Sunday, and I get the best cooking around here thanks to Mom and Dad. Pro number 4 is going to be cost of living. I talk to many of my clients who deal with such high property taxes where they're coming from. It's shocking when their property taxes are $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 a year instead of $9,000, $15,000, $20,000. And then of course that trickles down to the cost of gas, and most items around here are going to be less expensive than where many of you are coming from. The cost of housing itself, the closer you get to the coast, the more expensive they're going to be, higher price per square foot. As you get into the suburbs over in Dorchester and Berkeley County, it's a lot more affordable. For most of the people that are moving here that I talk to, they get a lot more house for their money than they do where they're coming from. That was number 4, cost of living. And my last and favorite, number 5 pro, is going to be The people. I love the people. We're very friendly. I'm a native. And for the people that are, especially the ones that are from here, you're just gonna find a friendlier group of folks who are courteous. We have manners. I still say yes ma'am and no ma'am to 17-year-old cashiers. And I say yes sir, no sir to just about everybody. Be prepared for someone to open the door for you. Please do not be offended. Don't be shocked when people wave at you when you're walking by. If you're next to me or my dad, just hold on tight because we're gonna ask you where you're from, what you do, and that will lead to all kinds of conversations. So if you don't like people, it could be problematic, but overall, I think you will really love and enjoy the friendly nature and the hospitable nature of the people in the Lowcountry. So that's it. We're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna get my wife. I'm gonna bring her out here. We're gonna see how her list stacks up compared to mine. Be right back. I'm back and something's missing. My wife is not here with me. I said I was gonna go get Sandra so we could get her take on the Lowcountry. However, as we edited this video and it got up over 16 minutes long, we said, okay, we're gonna break out Sandra's take into a separate video. When it's ready, it'll be over here and clickable for you to follow that link. So please subscribe, tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified if you want to see her take as a Chicago native / LA transplant to the Lowcountry of South Carolina. And we said we had one final pro / con that you're gonna have to decide if it's good or bad, and that is when you move here, everyone is going to want to come and visit you. And a lot of those are going to want to move here too. So is that good? Is that bad? Are you trying to get away from people? Do you want them, just bring them on and have them come visit? Tell us down below if that's good or bad. And maybe the next time we see you, it'll be right here when you're making the Lowcountry your home too. Thank you so much. See you next time.